So remember about a year ago, I was in a class full of my bullies, and those guys, they basically would keep bullying me and my two other friends continuously. We would basically go to school as torture. So imagine this, you wake up every single day, and you know for a fact you're gonna get fucking spewed at, bullied at, probably gonna feel some terrible fucking anxiety, and you have to basically face the anxiety of going there every single day and spending 8 hours where you're being bullied and being picked on. And this was one of those times in my life that I was in the highest anxiety states that I've ever been in. I would spend 8 hours, 5 days a week, sat in a class, just being talked about and bullied. And it wasn't one of the times that you would just kind of walk it off and you're like, oh yeah, like we're chilling, we're cool. I was making self deprecating jokes to just try and hide my anxiety and try and play it off cool. And every single teacher that would walk into that classroom would know for a fact that those three guys in the corner are being bullied. And the issue is, nobody stood up for justice. Because those guys, they weren't doing the right thing. And everyone knew that. And so I had to handle that for about 6 months straight. And it was one of those situations that would really get into your head. I wasn't very self-conscious and aware. I wasn't me, the guy you see today. I was me about a year ago. And I wasn't exactly the same guy you see today. And you see, everyone told me that you should pick a fight with them, and that you should teach them their lesson, and that you shouldn't shut up about this. And although, because we were being brainwashed with all that stuff, that you should tell the principal about them, or that you should pick a fight with them. And we did all of those. And yet, none of it worked to fix my mental state. Because it wasn't the right solution. Because none of those guys experienced being bullied for 8 hours straight, 5 days a week. As we went on, this one situation occurred that truly changed my circumstance. It was sports class, and those guys were going out, but as per usual, I was sat in the class, and I was just doing my shit. I was journaling and I was reading, and out of nowhere, this guy walks into the class, and this guy is the leader of those bully group, and he's like, "Why aren't you out in PE class or whatever?" And I'm like, "Hey, like I just prefer to stay here," and kind of goes silent a bit. He's packing his bag, and it seems like he's gonna leave. But as he's leaving, I stand up, and I tell him, "How about we stop this, man?" With the most anxious, like, fearful voice. And he looks at me like this, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And from that day, I wasn't bullied anymore. I wasn't made fun of anymore. And all it took was me telling him, "Hey, could we stop this?" And it was truly one of those situations. I guess it's probably like a very rare circumstance. But all it took was me realizing that he wasn't against me, that he wasn't evil, that he wasn't just like this demonic entity that's created there just to make fun of me. See, the simple truth is, in our world, we are basically taught and we are pushed to just form enemies. We are pushed to just try and make enemy out of anyone. You walk out in the street and your parents told you, "Oh yeah, like you might get kidnapped or whatever." And so naturally, you have your guard up. You're scared to look at people. You have a whole bunch of enemies. You look at everyone as an enemy. And I remember the story back in 2020. I was the most anxious, like, closed off kid you could see. And I was in my depressive kind of emo zone type of shit because I was just getting into my puberty, right? And it was one of the most depressing things you could see. I looked at everyone around me as an enemy. If I stepped out of my house, I looked at every single human I saw around me as an enemy. So this guy, probably an old dude who can't do shit, I'd look at him and be like this. And I'm just looking at him as an enemy. Started going to the gym, everyone around me is an enemy. And I've lived like this for about 2 years straight. Till I then realized that this was all a very wrong way to live. And I think you can relate to what I just said. You're living in a world where you're told to hate everyone. Where you're told that everyone around you is bad and that they're an enemy and that you live in a country of killers and whatever. And it's unbearable. It's unbearable to have to live in such anxiety where everyone's telling you, like, be careful because you might get kidnapped and whatever. Or be careful that, like, they're bad people, whatever. And this is one of the things that I wish I knew earlier in life. See, the reason I'm making this video today is because I quite frankly need to. This is something that I think a lot of people suffer from, including the people that live with me in this house, my parents and my family. And this is a problem that many people can't seem to even comprehend, because to them it's just second nature. It's just looking and seeing, oh, my instinct is telling me this person is bad. And trusting your instinct and judging upon your instinct will only lead to more chaos. Imagine this. Everyone back then, in the days of the swords, imagine if everyone saw everyone as evil, which that was the case, right? Everyone saw that other person that they didn't know as evil. But then what did that actually lead to? It led to a whole bunch of fucking wars. Because nobody trusted nobody. If you didn't have a white flag thing raised up, you were shot and killed, or you were sloshed on and cut in half. And this is exactly what's happening today. Everyone thinks that everyone's against them. Everyone thinks that, that person right there, they aren't good for us. And I think the main reason for this is because this is some big plan of probably some bigger organizations that you know of. Because they don't want us to be together. Because the worst thing for them is that we're united, that humanity becomes one. They will always try and make us into sects, where those guys are alone and the other guys there are alone. Imagine if humanity was united, that no one had no enemies, that we lived on earth and we were all happy with each other. And you might tell me, oh yeah, but why would they plan for us to not be united? That would be good. Well, their main goal isn't to unite us. Their main goal is to control us. And so you're mistaking the if and the how. But then of course there's a solution to almost everything. So I'm gonna list off some good things that you can do from this day going on to at least be doing your own thing and at least trying to influence others to perhaps follow what you are doing. So the first thing is you must understand this one concept in psychology. It's called the us versus them. And this is something that if you understand, you will unlock your third eye in this world. And it's as follows. Your brain is designed to literally, when you see any person, your brain will immediately think of them as either an us or them. And us means we, us. We are the good guys. We are the angels. But them, they are the demons. They are the bad guys. They are the ones who hate us. And if you understand this one thing in life, that doesn't just exist in you, it exists in everybody, you will undoubtedly unlock your third eye. you will be able to see everyone around you as they are. Because now you don't have any filters anymore. You understand that your brain is going to think of that person as either us or them, but then you can change that. And so you now know, you are conscious of the fact that your brain sets contexts, that your brain says, this guy is evil, that guy's good. Which means that's only an illusion, right? Because your brain's setting that stuff, but that's not true. You know, like, you can probably relate to this. You know that one guy, that one who's probably like really close to you, and the first time that you looked at him, you hated him. You just didn't know why. You just hated him. You're like, fuck you, like, I don't like you. If someone asked you, why do you hate him? You say, I don't know, but I hate him. But then out of nowhere, you started becoming friends with this guy. Now you're probably super close to this person. And it's all fucking us versus them dynamic. If you understand this, you literally will unlock your third eye in this world. So how do you take action on the us versus them? Well, it's as simple as realizing that you can change your perception of somebody. If you saw someone on the street and you consciously or unconsciously thought of this person as a them, well, you would realize this is an illusion and that your brain's playing games on you and saying, hey, that person's bad. But then they might not be. Which means that you don't treat someone based on what your brain says. Based on what your brain tells you. Your brain tells you, this guy is evil, but then you don't treat him as evil. You know, like, I just have to fucking say this story. I talked about this before, but basically, there's a story that's going on in my mother's business, right? And basically, like, there's this person, they had their own issues with their bank account or whatever, and, like, basically, they did a whole bunch of fucking refunds and all this, but they made a big problem in the business, right? And basically, the whole problem turns out to be basically just a berserkery. And at the end, it's resolved and refunds happen and whatever, and everything's fixed, right? But then after a couple of while, this person, like, basically texts the team and she basically tells them that, okay, like, I need my money back and that it wasn't received by the PayPal and whatever. And because my mother doesn't quite understand this, she just starts shouting at her as a them. Because remember, everything in this world is us versus them. And so now you perceive that person as a them. And so now you're shouting at that person, you're hating them, when it's not supposed to be the case. And, like, this was probably the main inspiration, because this happened just today, right? This was the main inspiration to why I even made this video. Because I wish that people understood the fact that your brain, the only thing your brain cares about is just protecting you. And you should understand that the ego is not against you, but the ego works in a way that is designed to be against you. And so your ego will convince you that person is evil and that person's good. I mean, it's just about having this I have no enemies mindset. And, like, if you're interested about the I have no enemies mindset, I'll leave you a video somewhere above here. Basically, I made a full video talking about the I have no enemies mindset and basically, like, how this mindset works, why you should implement it. If you're interested, it's like it popped up somewhere above there. Check it out. Now, the second thing is actually having some kind of sympathy. You see, if you sympathize with the person in front of you, you will be much more likely to actually understand their point of view because you sympathize with them. You understand that they are humans just like you, that they're not some evil entity, that they aren't designed to kill you. They're just there because they're there. They are them. They are there in their own, like, circumstance. But then you're just like that. And so you share that same thing because you two are like just normal human beings that exist on this world that want their own better. And so if you can develop sympathy, if you can start to see things from the other person's point of view, you will succeed in life. Because most people can't do this. Like, I was just talking to my mother right now, and she literally said it, like, I cannot sympathize with people. And this is one of the worst things you can have. The inability to sympathize. The ability to not be able to do this. And you can look at all successful people. Most of them know how to sympathize. Like 99.999% of them know how to sympathize. And some of them might choose to not sympathize. But all of them know how to. And so it would be quite remiss for you to say, yeah, but I'm better than them. I shouldn't sympathize. Because that means that you're not better than them because you don't even realize that sympathy is for the person who's above, not the person who's under. Then how can you actually do this? Well, there are a fuck ton of books on social skills and sympathy and all this stuff. I'll suggest you one book that you can read and it'll definitely help you. It's called How to Own Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I made like a book summary of this book. If you're interested, I'll leave it somewhere above here. But basically, like even that book summary won't really like fully cover everything that you should know. So like I would recommend that you still read the book, but of course do check that out if like you actually want to just get a quick peek to actually see like what is in that book and maybe like to go deeper into that if like you want to. Now of course I understand that some people are unbearable. Some people are just the type of people that like you seriously want to perceive them as them. And honestly, if I'm just gonna be totally honest, just learn to get away. Like after that story was over and they didn't bully us, I still couldn't bear them because they're just fucking, they're not the type of people that I want to spend around like my time around with. And so immediately, like as soon as that semester was over, I moved to another class. And that's because I can't bear them. Like I still, like I talk to them, we shake hands and whatever and we're cool. But like, it's just, I can't bear them. And there are a lot of people you just can't bear because like you two are just so different. But then that doesn't mean you don't sympathize with them. That doesn't mean that you treat them like shit. That means that you realize that you're different, you respect that you're different, and you still want to work with them if you have to. But then you also try and get away because you just don't want to. Like you just don't want to be around that person. And that's completely fine. You should have that as a border in the relationship. And I mean, honestly, it all goes back to mental health. If you prioritize your mental health, if you keep your mental health, your sanity as the number one thing, then you will protect it with all else. And I wouldn't see how screaming at somebody, not sympathizing with somebody, not understanding somebody, and hating on somebody would help your mental health. I would not be able to see that. Perhaps if you have like mental health issues or like character development issues, then yeah, maybe. But honestly, like you don't have this shit, and I know you do. And so the whole point is you need to understand that in order to grow as a human, you must sympathize with other humans. And the human is a social animal. Like, I made a full guide on basically how to be a better social entity. Like, I'll probably leave it somewhere above here. If you're interested, like, you can watch that. But this is seriously one of the things that people just don't seem to understand about social skills, about all this shit. You want to keep your sanity. You want to keep your mental health there. And again, one of the pillars of mental health is just the fact that you want to be socializing. If you socialize, you have one of the pillars of mental health, like right there. And so imagine if you're rejecting socializing and that you're saying that I don't want to socialize, that I'm too good, I'm way better than most people to socialize. That's just saying I give one of the pillars of mental health and I want to be insane and anxious. But I mean, again, like this is some of the stuff, like, I know like this is a very hard thing to do for a lot of us because the simple truth is most people just don't want to change. Most people just want to stay in their place. They don't want to develop. They're just too satisfied with their lives. And I always like to say this example, like me and my best friend always make fun of this. It's like the mid-class person. The mid-class person is in the perfect spot to be satisfied because even though they could just chase the higher goals, they don't want to because they're satisfied with their life. They're satisfied being a 9-to-5 employee. They're satisfied with having their old Mercedes. They're satisfied with being able to wear their cute suit every 6 months and having one vacation a year. They're happy with that. They don't want to change it. And sure, having gratitude is awesome, but being satisfied with it and living with it and not wanting to change it, not wanting to improve, makes you a retard. But that's exactly why I made my coaching. See, in my coaching, I literally help you one-on-one to implement the I have no enemies mindset, to actually become better at social skills, to actually sympathize with people, to be able to actually develop yourself as a human being and as a character, as a socializer. And the simple truth is most people don't understand the importance of this. They don't understand how important it is to be a social animal. And it's quite a shame how humanity has reached such a point where we're literally just, we say we're too good. We're too good to socialize, as if that's a good thing. And it's honestly just a big shame how humanity's gone down this autistic, rut. If you're interested, I'll leave my Instagram as the first link in the description. Just DM me on my Instagram and we'll discuss things from there. But in any case, that's kind of what I want to go through. Make sure to subscribe if you want to show me that you're a part of our tribe, that you're committed to the message, that you actually want to be a social animal, that you actually understand the importance of not having enemies, and the importance of being an open human being with an open heart. Because the simple truth is, living with a closed heart only means that you are subhuman, and that's not a good thing. And make sure to like this video if you want me to make more videos like this one, where we discuss social skills, where we discuss just how fucked up this world is and how brainwashed this world has become. And finally, if you commit to the work, you will be getting the results.